good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Skyrim 10AD. My name's Colin. I am the DM of Skyrim 10AD, and I'd like to welcome you to Skyrim, set 10 years after the destruction of Alduin the World Eater at the hands of the Dragonborn. He has had many adventures, but it's not his tale we're here to tell. Our story begins with 4 new adventurers, 3 who are relatively new to Skyrim, who joined recently, came over the border, and actually are new to each other as well. And they managed to hook up with a guide from Skyrim to show them around. And this is where our story started. They entered across the border between the Cyrodiil and Hammerfell border in Falkreath Hold, ventured into town, met with some of the townsfolk, and managed to pick up a quest or two, killing a spider and killing some Draugr. It then led them to discover that there was maybe a skooma racket going on, and something that is abhorrent to one of our characters, apparently. So they set off in search of this skooma den, and one of our characters met an old adversary, getting into Helgen Keep, the supposed start of the story of the Dragonborn. While in there, they managed to quickly dispatch the bandits in Helgen Keep occupying the area, and getting down into the lower recesses of it, they found a rather tough bandit chief who managed to fell one of their members, but from some healing spells managed to be revived. And they have saved a young Nord by the name of Lineal, and escorted this ne'er-do-well back to Falkreath, and have ensconced them inside the local prison, bound and gagged and naked. I don't know whether he's all the way naked. I'll leave that to your imaginations, I suppose. And now they have been tasked, or blackmailed by Sid Gear, the Jarl of Falkreath, into dispatching the mastermind behind this skooma operation. And we now join them late in the evening in the inn at Falkreath, known as Dead Man's Drink. One of the party members has headed off into the woods to deal with something, and we'll see what he wishes to deal with. And the rest of the party is inside the inn. So, I'd like to introduce our party now, and we will introduce our party in, let's see, the order of when they first bought Skyrim. So, not the characters, the players. So, when did you buy Skyrim? Start playing it. Who was the earliest?
Definitely wasn't me.
No, not me either.
January 2012.
Okay, so I believe that would be Victor, because that was a year after the game came out, and I believe
No, that was just a couple of months after the game.
Yeah, 2 months.
Oh, yeah. That's 2 months after the game. So I bought it 2 years after the game, and I believe, was it Andrew? You were around about the same, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, at least 2. Yeah.
Yep. So it would be between. So
I found this community because I started playing Skyrim. So Michael had just uploaded like episode 4 of this show, I think.
Yep, same here. So we have Victor first. So, Pat and Ray, do you know roughly when you bought Skyrim?
I'm absolutely at 100% dead last.
Dead
Guaranteed.
last. So,
Yeah,
so
was
then it
pretty
would
close.
be
I was 2 months before Special Edition came out.
okay. So then it would right. So you're up first, Victor.
Well, my character is named Septimus Vulpin, otherwise known as Mouse. He is a 24-year-old, somewhat brash, occasionally inept guide
Aren't we all?
who was born in Cyrodiil, but came to Skyrim fairly young, was raised by an aunt who died when he was around 14, and he's been pretty much on his own ever since, although he has had contact with the Honor Hall orphanage off and on, and does give them money to help out young boys and girls who went through similar things to what he went through. He's a bit of a rogue and has an amoral streak. But he knows Skyrim. He knows particularly in the south of Skyrim around Falkreath. He knows a lot of people around there. So.
Okay, awesome. And next we have Botti.
Botti Gleangrove is a wood elf who is a brash young character, instinctive, doesn't think beforehand, maybe a little bit too eager to hop to adventure, but always seeking the tales of the Dragonborn. Her true childhood hero, always heard the tales and the lore growing up of the stories of the Dragonborn and the Great Adventure. So she is a bard, a storyteller, person who wants to convey the message and the word of the Dragonborn. But she's here in Skyrim for the first time to discover the story and find as much as she can and collect the stories to bring them home and message to her people and spread the good word of the Dragonborn.
Awesome.
Good
And yes, love and friendship. As you saw at the bottom of Helgen Keep. And so now we moved on to Ray.
My character is Jaquai Chang. He's a monk, a very young monk. He is visiting Skyrim looking for his brother Zarendar.
And next we have Luke.
All right, thank you. This is Pat playing Luke Icewalker, the old, not quite yet gray, but starting to get there man of the group. Luke is a Nord, big picture for those of you who played the game Skyrim. Picture the generic Nord on the first character opening tab, the very first character you see. If that's what he looks like, big, hulking Nordic type. He is a cleric of Kinnerath or Kine, whichever you prefer. While he is a Nord, this is his first time in over 30 years of his life. This is the first time he's ever been to Skyrim. He was actually raised in Cyrodiil by Nord parents who fled just across the border as the troubles of the Nord Civil War began. And he spent his adult life in a monastery devoted to Kinnerath or Kine, and just before our adventure started, received a vision from his deity that he needed to go to Skyrim for reasons to him that are perhaps becoming clear as we play through this adventure. And Luke, if there were a voice from above narrating their evening in the pub, Luke would have very hastened to add to Colin's introduction that we haven't saved our young Nord friend yet. We have some work to do.
Okay, thank you very much. So, it's evening now. Darkness has fallen. You still hear the pitter patter, even above the noises inside the inn. and you have just heard a rendition of a newly written song by the bard Delacourt inside the inn. One of your party, Hamas, has not returned, but everybody was informed. He was seen by Jaquai and Botti heading out the front gates.
Yes, he was sneaking out the front gates where he tripped and fell, and then was greeted by the guard by name. At which point he slouched his way the rest of the way out the gate. Yes.
So you were all sitting at one of the further back tables, away from the bar, and probably in the corner opposite the alchemy table. It is Luke and Jaquai, Botti, and your new friend Lenil, a very large but young Nord male who seems to be having some issues with a disease that other people seem to have contracted and not survived. So that has gotten Luke a little on the worrisome side, and seems to be the mother hen sort of like fussing over the youngster. So, what would you like to do?
Well, Jaquai's had quite a afternoon, so he is going to turn in, rest, and do some meditation.
Okay, so you head up and you head up to the barmaid, and she looks at you. She goes, holds up her hand and she goes, "Your room is all right." And she goes, "Just go in there, and your money is no longer good here. Just head back in and rest yourself. If there's anything you need, just let me or the young ladies know, and we'll send somebody in with you."
Very good, thank you.
So is it dark yet? What's the hour?
Yeah, it's dark, but it's not particularly late. So you're probably looking around about the sort of like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. sort of like type of thing. So it is dark out. It's still raining out, but it's not like night yet.
Okay, so in sort of out of character terms, I don't want to make this the Luke and Lenil show, but I do want to now that we've gotten shed of our burden of Broto, and now that, especially now that we have the mace that Lud ensilvered for us, what I want to do is get Lenil off to the corner, maybe take him out behind the inn, and just show him the mace. Like, can he swing a mace? We're so worried about getting Broto here and getting Lenil here in one piece. He's a big, strong guy. Does he know what to do with a mace when he has a mace in his hand? So I'll say, "Hey, Lenil," and then we'll step outside and I'll ask him, do you know what to do with the business end of this mace?
I mean, yeah, I can use it, but it's not what I like. What I prefer is one of those. And he points to your steel warhammer, and he goes, Aniki showed me all of the weapons, and then Balaman made me one just before we leave, and he said it's a graduation a graduation present, and he gave me he modified a warhammer, but when we woke up in the cage, it was gone, and so was Aniki's scimitars. But yeah, there you go. I can use that, but yeah, I much prefer my mace because my warhammer crush everything with that.
So I'll give him I'll let him borrow my warhammer, and I'll ask him to swing the mace. And does it really seem like he really knows what he's doing with the warhammer? Is he really true, correct that he knows how to swing a warhammer?
Sorry, which did you lend him?
I asked him to take a couple of swings with both. We'll go find one of the practice dummies, or will step outside the gate and find a log. I ask him just to swing them both so I can see how his form is with the mace versus the warhammer. My warhammer, I'll let him borrow it just for a couple of swings.
Yeah, he picks up. I mean, you can do all this in the inn, so you don't have to go say. But he does pick up the warhammer, and he's like, "You go. It's really small, too light. It's too small." And he goes, "I shield thunder is big and hefty, and it's just got the right size of handle that gets me real business end." And so, like Ballerman said, that's what I should have. I should have big haft. Like he looks at you and
I nod to encourage him. Yes, yeah.
And he goes, and that's it. But yeah, he does. He picks it up, the warhammer, and he sort of like, he holds it up, and he definitely, the way he holds it and stuff like that, he just gets really annoyed because literally his giant shovels of hands just like surround the whole bottom half of it, and he can sort of like, it goes in between the first and second knuckle, and his fingers surround it completely. So he says, "Oh, it's not as meaty as that." And he goes, but then he sort of like swings the mace, and he goes, "Yeah." So he goes the same thing, but Aniki says it's not good to swap weapons all the time. It's best to stick with one weapon most of the time, because you get a feeling for it, and you get better and better and better the more you use it.
I think Aniki's right. Well, tell you what, we only have the one warhammer. I'm going to keep this one. You use the mace, and we will try to find a warhammer for you. But use the mace for now. You know how to defend yourself. We've gotten rid of Brodo. We're going to go look for Aniki starting in the morning. We're in this together, and you're going to have this. You're going to have this mace to defend yourself. And I give him the silvered mace that we got from Lud last night.
Are you really sure I can have this? I mean, I had to work for Ballerman for ages, and then I got the warhammer. And you sure I'm allowed to have it?
Yes, this is my mace. It was given to me by my mentor, my teacher, at my before I came on this. And I think this is exactly why I'm here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help Aniki. I'm here to help the people of Skyrim put behind this terrible skooma scourge. And you having this mace is gonna help us fight what's going on. So this is yours, and you're gonna use it, and you're gonna help us save your Aniki.
He picks up the mace and sort of holds it up, sort of like, and shakes his hands with it, and gives you a firm nod, and you give him the little belt that's got the hold all on it, so he can sort of like strap in and strap on the handle, so it's hanging down to the side and things like that.
So I won't belabor it, but as we're from here out, imagine we're on the Millennium Falcon, and he's Luke Skywalker with the lightsaber, and the little droid robot like shooting him in the ass with the laser. So that's Lanio with the mace. I'm trying to show him how to be good with a mace. He could probably use it with 2 fingers, but that's what we're going to do during our breaks as we're traveling over the next few days.
And he can handle it as well. And Butty, what are you up to?
I'm just hanging out in the corner. I was working on writing something.
Okay. Well, you there, and you guys are sitting around chatting and talking, and you're watching him swing and sort of like, getting him to have a few light swings at your shield, nothing too dangerous. And while this is going on, Mouse, what would you like to do? You're muted, by the way, Mouse.
Trying to get my cursor back over where it belonged. I couldn't find it there for a second. Mouse is just doing his thing in the woods. So he'll be back in the morning.
All right.
And that's all he has to say about that.
Okay. So give me 1 second. So towards the evening, you have a few more drinks, and then it gets later on, and then you all head to bed. The room for your services to the city up to now has afforded you free room and board, so all your drinks and your meals are comped, and you go inside, have some rest, and wake up fully refreshed, all spells returned, and all your hit points and everything like that is back. If any of them were down, I don't think so. But it's now bright and early, probably about, you're all early risers, really. So it's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning, and you hear the pitter-patter of rain is still falling, as it is for Creeth, coming from outside. And Volga is there waiting to see if you want any breakfast or anything like that.
And Mouse has slipped in quietly at around 6 a.m., so he's sitting at one of the tables, warming himself near the pit fire.
Okay. So, what would you like to do?
Good morning, fellows. Did you sleep well?
Morning, Mouse. Would you like to join me in some fish for breakfast?
I'd love to. Thank you. Thank you.
Lineal gets up and sort of like smiles, and he's look around, and he's sort of like very slowly reaching his hand out for this giant loaf that's on the counter, and he's staring right at Valga, and just keeps his hand moving to see what she says. And then he grabs hold of the half the loaf disappears underneath his hand, and he picks it up and then brings it closer. And she doesn't say anything to him. She just keeps watching him, sort of like, with this half sort of like smirk and smile, sort of like seeing what he does, and he just puts half of it into his mouth and then walks towards the table where you and where Mouse and Jaquai are.
Mouse looks up at Valga and smiles and shakes his head and looks back over towards Lineal. Pats him on the shoulder. Says, "Good morning."
Good morning. Next half of the loaf is gone.
Where's Luke?
Oh no, Luke is always. Luke is always an early riser. He's probably coming in from some morning calisthenics and very very old fashioned calisthenics. He's out there doing jumping jacks and toe touches and things. Yeah, that's right. He's making sure Lineal didn't sleep in, doesn't get the habit of sleeping in, that sort of thing. So yeah, he'll come in and have some something tasteless and gray, something appropriately Nordic for his breakfast.
Awesome.
And somebody better go rouse body because she's liable to sleep in.
Lineal, I would offer you some fish too, except that I don't have a whale.
He's got a mouthful of bread and he goes, "What's a whale?"
Sure, Lineal, sure.
Too funny.
He's sort of like, he just looks slightly confused. So, Butty,
Yes.
is you up?
I roll out, rubbing my eyes. What have I missed?
Oh, not much.
Not much.
That gray stuff looks terrible. Does anybody else have food?
Here, have some of my fish, buddy. I ate last night. I'm not that hungry. Here.
Fish.
Have some of my fish.
All right. Sounds good.
So,
What are we
you
going
guys,
to get?
do you guys remember from yesterday? Sorry to cut you off there. That the Jarl Sidgir has afforded you. He said that Falkreath is open to saying that anything that you needed, that you think that you needed, would probably be on the city to help you out. He was also said that you have the use of some draft horses that they took over the care of after the Imperial army left the province. You have been given a horse each, 5 horses in total, to take at your disposal. If you complete his mission and keep true to your word that if anyone asks, it was his idea to hire you all and to go over to get rid of this because get rid of the scourge and shut down the Skuma operation because he fears reprisals from the what's her name, from the Queen Bee. The rest of you wouldn't know who that was, but Mouse, you do. That would be Maven Blackbriar, who is the Jarl of Riften now, and he says it would be bad if she found out there was a skooma operation going on in Falkreath, and yeah, so you actually don't know why he said that, Luke, Buddy, and Jaquai. You don't know why he would find that a bad idea. And then he said, after you complete this mission, the horses were yours. If you do, you need to complete it within 2 weeks, and then return for a reward as well. You have a little map. So we can go to Roll20 and you can show that. So as you are looking at this, and I presume you're talking about it as you're sitting around breakfast of what you're planning to do for the rest of the day, Mouse pulls out the map, and he points out that what you can do is what you've been doing all the time that he's been leading around, is that you can obviously follow the road, come back out of Falkreath, join onto this road, and head back. But that's not always how Mouse travels. So it is quicker to head this way. But although a lot of this wood here has been chopped down for lumber, some of it is starting to regrow. And you know from experience of taking this little shortcut, Mouse, that sometimes it's fine and you can get from here to there in just over a day instead of the few days that it'll take to go around by the road. But then sometimes you absentmindedly take a wrong turn, get caught in some scrub bush, and then it turns out that you're in difficult terrain, so it halves your movement speed, and you have to fight your way through brambles and stuff. So it's a bit of a risk, depending on how high you roll, what would happen. And you are on horses, but through this terrain here, you're not going to be going particularly fast on the horses. You just be going at average speed. And then if you run into some difficult terrain, it could make it progress even slower.
What's the multiplier, if any, between horse travel and human foot travel?
Actually, within D&D rules, it's actually the same.
It is, okay.
But
I thought so, but
excuse me. But me myself, I'm going to add an extra, because they've got an extra 10 movement speed over most animals, over most creatures. So I'm going to give you an extra sort of 10-15% and sort of knock off a few hours with horse travel wherever you go, because they are a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker in Skyrim. So.
But we're not going to save a day or anything like that.
No.
So
well, go and not by horse, but by cutting off the road, then you could probably save that amount of time.
So Mouse would figure it's about 3.5 days to Half Moon Mill from Falkreath. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, and you also know that from there is a little, So from the path, from the road, there is a little path coming off the road right at the top of the interchange there that leads to the tower of where it says here.
Yes.
But that would take that path would take around about a few hours to half a day to go down that path to get to the tower. But you do know that if you come up beside it, you can come up from behind it instead of following all the way around the path. But again, you'd be going through a forested area. So depending on your role, that path would take around about a few hours. Oh, somebody's YouTube's open.
Not mine. I know of. So I'm going to relay most of that information to the group, and we can discuss it. We only have 2 weeks, so seems to me we take the chance to go across to bushwhack, as it were, to front load our 2 weeks, right?
So what are our skills on horses? I'm no horse warrior. I can ride Colin, at this point, have we sort of taken possession of our horses and we're able to sort of look at them and see if one's big enough to hold a kneel and sort of take the measure of the horses at this point?
Yeah, I mean, if Leniel is just wearing a shirt and trousers, if there's a horse and you can ride a horse, you've ridden a horse before. If a horse can take you and your armor, then it can take Leniel. So,
okay.
And these are draft horses. They're work horses. They are used to pulling along heavy carts and stuff like that, filled with armor and swords and things like that. So, they're really strong. They're shorter than what you would normally see. It's a nice stout, and they might be a little bit old, but they'll get you there. And all of you know how animals and stuff like have ridden before. You don't have to do serious skill checks. The only serious skill check you would have is if you're doing something that would normally require an acrobatics check. So you're going to do acrobatics checks with the horse. So
yeah, with that in mind, and knowing these are tough, broody Skyrim horses, and if I'll defer to Mouse, if you feel the overland route is if you think your chances of guiding us through the overland route through the brush are strong, then I agree. We should take the
well, I know the
shorter
way either
route.
way. It's just a matter of, how we do and how badly grown. I haven't been through that way in a while, so I don't know if it's more grown up than it was the last time. So
you'll also know that it'll be animals more likely to run across animals out in the brush than you would going along the road.
Yeah. Well, I'd say let's chance it. I think we need to get there as fast as possible, so we have as long as we can to get to Whiterun.
And Body's shown that she's able to help us cope with animals too.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's a good week to get to Whiterun from where we're going to be. So, yeah, we should get there. We should get there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And as Mouse is speaking with Luke in particular about this, he walks around and pulls a bunch of nightshade out of his pouch and says, "I gathered these last night," and hands them to him.
Admirable. Well found.
Okay. So what would you like to do? You're heading out into the to the city, the town, should I say, or the village, and you're sort of like heading across to the waters. Is there anything you like to do in town before you head off? If you're going to head off, you're going to be heading down alongside the graveyard and then behind the Hall of the Dead, and then venturing up into the wooded area.
But before we leave town proper, I'm going to run over to Lud's forge and give a blessing to his forge. Thank him for his ensilvering of the mace, and I'll also see if he has an inexpensive wooden or iron shield that I could purchase for Lineal. Does he have just a basic basic shield, because I assume Lanil can swing the mace like a toothpick, one-handed.
He goes, oh, you're heading off to. Hey, well, first of all, he come up. He's like, oh, there he is. There's a big fella. And he goes, oh, you're welcome. And he goes, oh, so you're heading off to take care of that Jarl's business, I take it.
That we are. That we are.
Well, then, and he leans over and sort of like pulls up an iron shield that seems to have a little bit of dust on it. It seems to have been there a while. And he goes, here. He goes, take that. And he goes, if you bring it back, great. If you bust it over some guy's head and break it, that's good enough as well. And he goes, just take that and sort of like get this deal done with, and make sure you guys take care of yourselves. All right? Gives you a slap on the shoulder.
Thank you. And it's good. It will go to a good cause, the protection of a young innocent who deserves better in his life. So it's very well merited. Thank you. Good deal. And so I'll as I'm doing my little training sessions with Lanil, during breaks and stuff, I'll see if he knows. We don't have to belabor it, now with the game time, but I'll try to teach him how to use the shield, or see if he knows how, and that way he'll have a little bit of protection along the way.
Yeah. So as you're doing it, you do notice that he does in fact know how to use a mace and a shield, and he seems quite competent with them.
Excellent.
Anything else? Rest of the party? Nope.
Yeah, Jaquai's ready to go.
And just to I listened to the last. We were doing a lot of torturing of our ropes and things to keep Roto under control. So I'll make sure we've got a nice length of rope, and our supplies are all kitted out and all that. Just I don't think we have to belabor it, but just we've got basic supplies. We've got a nice 50-foot length of rope, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I believe Mouse contributed some rope, so he needs his rope back as well.
And I was going to ask, do weapons need maintained? Do I need to go sharpen?
No, there's certain circumstances where armor and weapons can get degraded, but I would let you know when then certain situations happen. And magical weapons cannot be damaged unless certain circumstances causes them to be damaged. So even bashing a magic sword against a rock 1,000 times is not going to break it. Only certain situations can break a magical sword.
Sweet.
So you all guys mount up, get on your horses, and the horse that Lanil gets on does a little unsteady for a moment, but he's not as fast as the rest, and he's sort of he might give a dirty looks to the other horses having such a light load. But he does sort of trail along behind, and he managed to follow you up. So could I get what's the marching order as you're heading off up into the woodland?
Well, Mouse will go first because he sort of knows the way. At least he has an idea of the direction it's going to take, which is going to favor, just for your information, Colin, he's going to favor as much northwest as possible rather than going north. So sort of, off to 10 o'clock or so from where the corner of the F is.
Yeah, so he's just going around behind the Hall of the Dead and heading up that way.
Yep.
So he can
going to try to hit the road south of where that tower is.
Yeah.
And Jaquai will be up front with Mouse just to help give him some words of encouragement and direction.
So with that, Mouse, can you make a survival check with advantage, because Jaquai is helping you out.
12 and so it's 14 on survival.
Okay. And could I have Jaquai? Can you make a perception check as you're trotting along?
$16.
16. So as you're traveling along, the rain lets up for a good few hours as you set off in the morning. So you get a nice clear blue sky for a little bit. The dark clouds part and you get a nice bright blue sky coming across. But just along the horizon, you see another set of dark clouds heading your way. So you're not going to get that much of a respite. But most of this land, as you're traveling through it, you can see this is the area where has been cut down and chopped down for lumber. But as you can see, most of it's starting to grow back. But because the canopy has been taken away, it's given all the brambles and everything like that, all the small brush has sort of like given all this extra light. So they're growing with extra vigor the past few years while there's no canopy sort of like, hiding the light on them. So it gets a little bit thick in places, but Mouse and Jaquai working together, especially with their high, like looking up down from above the horses, managed to lead you through, and you probably get sort of like about an hour away from the road before it starts getting into nightfall. You probably might want to look to getting getting to camp down for the night.
If we're, Mouse will know that he's close to the road, so he's going to just consult with everybody and say, well, the closer to the road we are, the safer we are to camp. How do you feel about traveling when it's dark? Luke?
How far away?
I'll trust your guidance.
Yeah. How far away from the road is the tower? Would they be able to see if somebody was keeping watch?
Well, if we've kept to our course, we're going to come into the road south of the tower, and the tower is the road is pretty much hidden from the tower at that point.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. I'm thinking Jaquai has good night vision. And was that in this game or another game? I gotta get them some of them mixed up. I don't think Mouse has anything I can use to get through my inventory. I don't think I gained anything that gives me better night vision. But I would say we should try to get as close to the road as possible before it gets too dark, for even Jaquai to see well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's go on for another hour.
You do risk a point of exhaustion trying to push on through.
Well, what time is
it? Probably you've been traveling for about 9 or 10 hours. So let's say you're probably looking around about 6 or 7.
So the sun's about to set.
Yeah.
So I'll say, well, let's travel for till after the twilight has faded to dark. So that'll be about an hour after sunset.
Okay. So, well, you get to, as I said, about an hour out from the edge of the road, before you start to feel that everybody's tired, especially your horses, especially the horse at the back with Lilial on it, starting to get very, very haggard. Okay. If you want to push to the edge of the road, then you're risking everybody getting a point of exhaustion.
All right, well,
including your horse.
Let's just find a good camping spot then. We'll try to find a good safe spot with perhaps some rocks to guard us on one side and a good flat area. And we will not. I don't think we should build a fire. Okay, guys.
Yep.
Okay.
So you all get off your horses and start to set up camp. And Mouse, you go into your rucksack and sort of like open up your rucksack. Can you make a dexterity check.
That would be number 12.
12. Okay, so give me a second here. And that's a 5. You open your rucksack, and as you're looking at it, you just pull the right back. You see this massive swarm of spiders, approximately 19 spiders, just about to lunge right at your face. But with enough dexterity, you manage to throw your rucksack down on the floor, right in the corner next to a tree. And that's where everybody turns around and sees this swarm of spiders flying out of the bottom of Mouse's backpack. I want everybody to roll initiative, please. Oh, well, that just sucks.
4.
Let's see. Dexterity is initiative modifier.
It is, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
19 for me.
And 7, sorry.
21 for Jaquai.
23 for Body.
Buddy. And we have Jaquai. And then we have Luke. And then we have Mouse. And then, because I rolled a natural 1, we have a swarm of spiders.
And don't forget, Lanil Smash.
Yeah.
Oh, Lanil, thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that. And
He got him all kitted out, man. He's going to squash some spiders.
And that's an 8. What's his modifier? Plus 2, so that's 10. So what was yours, Luke?
19.
All right, yeah. So he's just behind Luke. So that's his. Okay, and I'm gonna roll for the horses just in case. 15. He's on the same train there as well. Okey-dokey. Right. First up is Botty. Botty, you see, is everybody's just getting off the horses, and you had a little discussion about whether you're going to stop or not, and stuff like you weren't really listening. They were rambling on about whether they could sleep, and you were sort of like, looking off or looking at the moon and sort of like thinking about your song and everything like that. And,
That's what I did.
yeah, so Mouse gets off his horse, and he opens up his pack to have a look so something like set something else so we can have something to eat, and then suddenly he throws his backpack against just a tree in the corner, and you see this swarm of spiders just pour right out of the bottom of the rucksack and started to head towards the nearest one was that would be Mouse, but you're still on your horse, and you can see exactly where they are, and you're first to actually see them. So you see the swarm of spiders. What would you like to do?
Colin, sorry. Mechanically, are these going to act as a swarm of things, or so they're going to behave as a single sort of mass? Okay,
I'm not rolling initiative for 19 spiders.
Yeah.
Single. Okay.
Great. Well, Body would like to grab her sword. She stays high on her horse to try to avoid the ground of the spiders. Grabs her. No, let's grab the bow in one hand and start to aim, but in one hand, let's get up some spells here. Let's see what we have. A question of clearance: would these behave as animals or monsters? Would animal friendship be applicable
It would.
to this thing?
It probably would, but you would only be able to. Technically, as I said, it is a swarm, but you would only hit. You wouldn't be able to affect 19 spiders in it. So you might get one or two to stop. So you'd probably, if you wanted to do animal friendship, you could probably get a couple of them to stop, which I would take a couple of hit points off for it, depending on on your roll. But you wouldn't stop the swarm because it wouldn't affect every single spider in the swarm.
Okay, well, I grab a torch in one hand, a sword in the other, hop down off the horse, and start swinging.
Okay, so you head towards the swarm, and you roll a d20 and roll for attack.
Do I get any? Let's see. Is it?
Yeah, so you roll a d20 and then you add dexterity and your proficiency bonus for the attack.
3. And then a proficiency of +2, so a roll of 20, 16.
16. That hits.
Nice.
Sweet. Dragonborn be blessed.
What's next?
Buddy, you need to roll damage.
Oh, sorry.
So roll a d6 and a d for the damage of the sword, and then because you're using the ancient Nord sword of cold, right?
Yes.
So roll a d6 for the damage of the sword, and then a d4 for the frost damage.
The 6 was a 5, and the 4 for the frost damage. A 1.
Okay. So as you strike with your swords into the swarm, you see the swarm just sort of like disappear. So you see some chunks of blood and things like that damage the swarm, but it doesn't do that much damage. And then you sort of like see a flash of frost, but you remember hearing that these were called frostbite spiders when you were in the cave, so it might not do as much damage to them as you thought. So 6, so you end up doing only 3 damage.
But the torch does some damage as well, right? Torch does 1 fire damage.
Torch?
He said he grabbed his torch and was swinging his torch.
I don't
Torch is
remember
good.
that.
Oh, sorry. You did say that, buddy, right?
Yeah, I said I grabbed my sword in one hand, a torch in the other, and hopped down and started swinging.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there a bonus action you'd like to do?
Let's see. What would make sense? Probably try to retreat behind a horse to try to make sure that I have other people wanting to help with the attack here.
Okay, so you do know that because you're in melee range with it, because you ran up to it to attack it, that if you step away from it now, it would get an attack of opportunity against you as you're sort of like trying to flee its melee range.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously it depends on whether it rolls, whether it's going to get the attack or not, but...
Yeah, I don't know what else I would do otherwise.
Yeah, so you back away. You also have because that's your movement, your bonus action as a bard. You can inspire somebody else if you so wish.
Yes, let's inspire Luke because he has a one of those big good weapons. Oh no, how about sorry, what's his name? Not Lanil.
Lanil,
Yeah.
our new friend.
Let's have him go stomp on some spiders. I want to see. I want to see the boots go to action.
Good call.
Yeah. So, what would you like to say to him to give him some encouragement as he's you see him jump off the horse and he's got his iron shield and he's pulled out his mace and he's starting to head over to where they are.
I say, Lanil, they've stolen your bread. Go get them. Stomp on them.
And next, I've got to roll attack as you step away and you sort of like get all that. The horses are sort of like, they're used to sort of like, creatures and things like that and sort of like, loud clashing noises and swords and sort of like things like that. So they're not really startled. They're a little bit sort of like skittish and starting to move away, but they're not sort of like, bolting or anything like that. So, and that's a 5. So no, a couple of spiders leap to try and sort of like attack you as you sort of like back away, but they fall short as they're so young and
Sweet.
and sort of like fall flat. So next up we have Jaquai.
All right. Well, Jaquai learned a valuable lesson the other day, so he is going to go in for a claw attack.
Okay. So you step into melee range with the swarm. It's just now it's engulfed the backpack and it's starting to head down the side of the backpack away from the tree. It seems like it's like trying to follow Botty. And you come up to the side of it and roll for attack.
14.
14 hits.
Ugh. 2.
2. And again, as you fly, 2, you should add your dexterity modifier to that as well for damage.
Oh shoot! Yep. 6.
6. So you do 6 damage. And again, as you see, your claws go in and you go in with the palm as you make a quick swipe. But it's sort of like you see that some of them just bounce up out of the way and land in sort of like, back up on the other side and flip themselves back over. You're not doing as much damage to that as you normally would against a good solid target like a humanoid or a sort of like an undead or something like that.
So if they're in tight enough of a cluster, I should be able to hit 5 of them at a time.
Maybe on a critical.
All right. Well, so I still have one hand to go.
Okay. So roll for another attack.
17.
That hits.
And 8.
8 total. So that's that was your action, and then your bonus action to hit with your offhand. You've still probably got about another 20 foot of movement because you're all clustered together and the horses were quite close by. So is there anything you'd like to do with the rest of your movement? You've got about 20 foot.
How close is the nearest tree?
It would be the one that's right behind the swarm. The swarm,
So how far away is that?
what? 5? Yeah, about 5 or 10 foot. So just behind them.
Okay, so I'll go 10 foot to the tree and 10 foot up.
There is. And it's already used its reaction to try and swipe out at Botty as she makes away. So, yes, you make a clean break. You swing around and then manage to climb up the tree. And then you're sort of like above it on one of the branches looking down upon it.
And from there I shout, "It's yours, Luke."
Next, we have Luke.
All right, I'm going to need to understand our layout here because I have an area effect spell that for which it could matter. What's our positioning?
Well, as as everybody else is moving, you're probably just getting off the horse now. You saw, was it? So right at the front would be Mouse, and he's right near the tree. And it's a sort of like a biggish tree, definitely big enough to hold a very slight Khajiit, and Mouse is probably about 10 foot away from this tree, and he's thrown his backpack at it, and that's where this swarm of spiders has started pouring out of the bag and climbing down. Botty was off to the left as she saw it pretty early. She jumped off, ran in and attacked, and then ran behind Mouse's horse. So they're off to the right, and Jaquai is ahead of you up the tree, and the swarm is probably about 15 foot ahead of you, just at the base of the tree.
Okay. So it sounds like we've
behind.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got sort of enough separation where I think I can do this. So I'm gonna step towards the swarm. So just to make sure I'm envisioning this right, this is like a bunch of sort of football-sized spiders. They're not little tiny spiders like you'd like find in real life in your basement.
No,
they're
giant.
They're much smaller. They were all 19 spiders in Mouse's.
Oh, that's true. They were on your back. So they are pretty small. Okay. All right. So I think this works then. So I will step up, sort of position myself. So I've got. I'll step up right next to the spiders. I don't care. I don't mind exposing myself to spiders. I just want to make sure the party is sort of to my side or behind me, and I'm going to cast Thunder Wave at the swarm.
Okay.
So Luke comes in, holds out his, strikes. I envision the somatic component of Thunder Wave is he just spreads his hands out wide, brings them in front of himself, swings them together in front of himself in a giant clap, and invokes, as his hands meet, he invokes the name of Kine and speaks a word of power, and a tremendous wave of thunder bursts out in a 15-foot cube from originating from Luke towards the swarm of spiders, and they take 2d8, which is I'm gonna just go ahead and use my channel divinity power and maximize that. They will take 16 points of damage and be pushed back 10 feet away, or if they make a constitution save, half the damage and they're not pushed. So either 16 points of damage or 8 points of damage to the critters. Okay, and they're pushed 10 feet away if they're damaged, if they fail their save.
Either way, it just destroys the swarm. You guys watch as Luke doesn't even take his warhammer out or anything. He just walks up. The shield is sort of like pushed back, so it's more like a buckler. It's up on his forearm, out of the way while he's traveling, and he just gets off the horse and sort of like positions himself. So now Jaquai is up in the tree to the left, and he just looks at the swarm, and you see this giant clap. And as his hands meet, you see this blue spark just emanate from in between the two hands as they meet, and then just force wave just blasts forward and just annihilates the swarm. It just bits and chunks of green and sort of like red goo just splatter all across. Sort of like, kind of like making this skid mark of dead spider corpses along the side, just to the side of the tree.
And I look at Mouse and I say, Kine is merciful, but you, young man, should take care of your equipment.
Yeah. The Mouse looks goddamn spider eggs.
Check your inventory, boy. I was looking. I
didn't even write it down.
Absolutely brilliant.
I was like, they've been in town like 3 times now, and he still hasn't brought those spiders in.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because I never wrote them down in my. Totally.
Absolutely brilliant.
Mouse, perhaps later we can have some discussion and conversation around reproduction.
when a mommy spider and a daddy spider love each other very much.
The story of the birds and the spiders. Yeah.
Wasn't paying that much attention. How long have we been going for? It's probably been about an hour or so.
We're about halfway through, so maybe take a quick break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My beer is empty, so we need to refill.
Yeah, I'm going to get a refill of drink of my own. So I'm not too sure what's been
The chat's
going
been
on.
pretty quiet.
So thank you guys for joining and thank you for listening in. I'd just like to say that if we do have some guys in chat, we are doing a special thing that every donation of $10 to CFF today, if you wish, that will buy you a ticket, one entry into a raffle to appear as a character, a special guest star on Skyrim 10 AD at a future date, to be named later. And every donation, so just send an email to skyrim10ad@gmail.com saying excuse me, saying how much you donated. So that will tell me how many times to put you into the raffle. Also state what Skyrim race or what Elder Scrolls race you would like to play, and what D&D class you would like to be as well. Or, as I said before, if you want, you can put in for an NPC. If there's an NPC running around Skyrim that you'd like to play as the and you're thinking that the party might run into this NPC, you can play as that NPC as well. And lastly, it was if you make a donation of $100 or more, that will automatically get you an invitation onto Skyrim 10AD if you wish, and as a legendary creature, such as one of the companions or one of the wizards at Winterhold. But obviously, the interactions between this NPC and the party might be few and far between, but that does get you some great insight into some hidden knowledge that the party might be seeking.
Can we say that this lasts for a little bit longer than just today, since some people may be listening to this not today, but
oh yeah, I'm gonna do the raffle probably about 2 or 3 weeks time.
Okay, so it's good for a couple of 3 weeks, because
Skyrim 10AD would like to thank Tabletop Audio for the use of their music in this podcast. If you would like to find more music like this, just go to tabletopaudio.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you for downloading this edition of Skyrim 10 AD. Email the show at skyrim10ad@gmail.com. For more information, please visit asapodcasting.com, where you will find a Skyrim Addict podcast, the Fallout feed, and our Amazon link, which benefits the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Find our social media in the show notes. Thanks for listening.